Howard Stern comes again.
Say that again. Think about it.
Howard Stern comes again.
I love that.
You tell me where the title came from.
I wanted to sort of inform the audience that I haven't changed, that I still have second-grade humor. And hearing guys like you, respected broadcast journalists, say Howard Stern comes again, it gives me,
it's gratifying, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm coming again.
Howard Stern calls himself the king of all media. His specialty, no-holds-barred celebrity interviews. From Robert Downey Jr.
Would you be upset if they ever replaced you as Tony Stark and Iron Man, or do you have an exit strategy in any of this?
I believe I do.
To Charlize Theron.
Are you easy to live with?
I'm sure I'm not.
Even President Donald Trump.
During the Ivana divorce case, I saw you as a victim.
I like it.
You know why I saw you as a victim?
Why should I say anything? This is beautiful.
Should I tell you?
Now out with a new book reflecting on some of his biggest gets.
Donald Trump would come on my show, and this is why he was great. There was no filter. I go, Donald, Angelina Jolie, she's one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. She's a 6. You know. Now, who says that? You know, most people, if they're having that thought, keep that pretty guarded. Not Donald. He was right into it.
You know who's one of the great beauties of the world, according to everybody, and I helped create her? Who? Ivanka.
Ivanka Trump, most beautiful girl in the world. You know, I would marry her. These types of things, most people, certainly politicians, don't say.
That would have been embarrassing.
Some of the dozens of interviews Stern did with Trump resurfaced during the 2016 election, and Stern says he didn't foresee the impact.
And I was quite surprised when they dragged out every single Donald Trump interview I had done. And in some ways, I felt it was unfair to Trump because, like, for example, they were fond of quoting that Donald Trump had said something to the effect that STDs were his personal Vietnam. But really, it was in a very joking scenario. He was not comparing his life to a Vietnam vet. It was ha, 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 and this and that. But when journalists took it and made it serious, I thought it was a little bit unfair.
Do you feel that in some way you helped make him president?
Absolutely. Because Donald would come on my show. I mean, look.
Does it make you feel bad or good?
Well, look, I did not vote for Donald Trump. The way I helped Donald was I let him come on and be a personality. Whether you liked him or not, people related to him as a human being, whether you love him or hate him. He's a master at talking like a dude.
Stern didn't take candidate Trump seriously at first.
I don't think he thought he was going to win, and I don't think he expected to win. I think it was a publicity stunt. And what I mean by that is, when he put out his first book, Art of the Deal, they said, why don't you announce you're running for president? And it'll help sell books. It'll get you on every show. And if you go back and look in time, that's exactly what they did. He never announced he was running. He was going to run. What happened, I think, with this time was the Apprentice ratings were going down. NBC was balking at giving him a big contract. And lo and behold, I'm running for president.
But once Trump became president, their personal and professional relationship changed.
The turning point in my relationship with Donald was he did ask me to speak at the convention. And I had to say no.
Were you tempted at all?
Well, since I was a Hillary supporter, for a minute I thought, well, I'll go up and endorse Hillary, which would have been a great moment.
You wish you would have done that now?
No, I wouldn't do that to Donald. You know, it's a weird relationship I have with Donald. Was at my wedding. He was always very nice to me.
But you don't want him to be president, but you can't help like him?
I have a real problem. As you can tell, I have a real problem with what's going on, so I'm very conflicted now. You know, the guy I knew I didn't know this was him. I don't believe his stance on abortion, for example. The Donald I know, I think he probably needed to get a few people abortions. I don't know what he's doing. It is really unthinkable to me about what's going on in the country right now.
Stern describes how during the 2016 campaign, he was running his own campaign to get Hillary Clinton as a guest.
She doesn't know about I'm in therapy and doesn't know what I really wanted to do. I didn't want to ask her about her sex life. I didn't want to ask her about Bill Clinton and his affairs or any of that. The woman has devoted her life to public service. Why? What is it about public service? What is it that drives her? What was her climb? I thought that perhaps if she came on my show, we could have stripped away some of the pomp and circumstance or the tightness that comes with running for president. And like Donald, she could have been seen in a different light.
And you believe if she had done that, she'd be president?
That's an arrogant statement. It came down to a couple of states, 70,000 votes. On SiriusXM, we have 33 million subscribers. If Hillary could have come in and maybe persuaded 70,000 people out of those millions of people that listen and come off in such a way, maybe we'd be looking at a different scenario.
Stern's platform is powerful.
Bask in my glory, respect my total domination of the media. Basically, humble yourselves before me.
And he built it through controversy.
We can laugh, we can play, we can do whatever the F we want.
And at times indecency.
Because I know I'll be the first one to contract herpes here at this radio station if that toilet isn't well cleansed and covered.
But now Stern doesn't want to be just a shock jock.
That interests me zero, being as dirty as I want to be.
In his book, he writes about regrets for some of his past behavior, saying he was self-absorbed and had a hard-ass pose that no longer works. He doesn't even want people to read his other books, including the 1993 bestseller turned blockbuster, Private Parts.
Right now, you're getting a look at a live broadcast of the Howard Stern Show.
That's about 13 inches. And you're licking whipped cream off a kielbasa. And you're
It
putting
just
in your
doesn't
mouth.
represent me anymore, so it's hard for me to go back and look at it. Those books, they could be hurtful, and they were a little too intense. At that point, my attitude was it was a scorched earth policy. I'm going to blow you out of the water. I'm going to be pure id, and bam, let it all out. That was my approach to radio.
Was that a conscious approach then? Or
Oh, yeah.
Was it just you?
No, it was a conscious approach. No, that's what I had to do. But it was me. When you're on the radio and you're trying to attract an audience, everything is intense and everything is super blown up.
When you read this book, it doesn't sound like you like that guy that much.
I'm not in love with that guy that much, and it's hard for me. I never was in love with myself, and I think that comes across in the book. I have problems, but I have learned through therapy, maybe I could love myself a bit and love what I'm doing and really throw myself into it, and it's been a long process and a long journey.
It began with the split from his first wife, Allison, in 1999. A wake-up call that led him to therapy.
I was scared out of my mind. I had been married most of my life. My daughters are the most important thing in the world to me. How do I, as a man, have a relationship with my daughters outside of, if my wife is no longer there to facilitate that, how do I communicate that? How am I going to have a successful relationship with any woman, or man for that matter, if I don't know what's up and what's down? And when I got into therapy, I had to start learning how to be a man. I didn't have any lessons.
Being listened to in therapy helped him listen more on air.
Yes, millions of people were listening to me on the radio. But I was telling stories. I'm primarily being funny and provocative for my audience. But I had never really been alone in a room with a man where he heard me and listened to me. The first session I went in, I'm sitting there and I'm doing some of the best radio routines I've ever done. I'm doing impressions of my mother. I'm doing impressions of my father.
You're going to be the best patient.
Best patient, because I got to be loved. And he turned to me and he goes, "None of this is funny." And I was like, well, hey, I do this for a living. And he goes, no. He goes, why don't you get real with me? Some of what you're telling me sounds very sad, and yet you're laughing at it. Well, this was mind-blowing to me. No one had ever said that to me. And I had never had a real conversation like that before. And as the years went by, I got more and more turned on by being listened to. Quite frankly, I was actually very uncomfortable with it.
And now, the Howard Stern Show.
There you go. Thank you, George Takei, our announcer.
The move from traditional radio to subscription-based satellite radio gave Stern the room to grow and reevaluate his controversial style.
I've never looked back and said, oh, I made a dumb decision coming to satellite radio.
The format of SiriusXM radio has allowed me to be a lot freer. Everyone said, oh, you're going to SiriusXM so you can be as dirty as you want to be. All the outrageousness, all the sex talk, all that stuff was liberating and revolutionary to me because I was on terrestrial radio. The government was being oppressive. I was fighting the good fight. Well, now I get on satellite radio, and suddenly my world is like, oh, do whatever you want. It's the Wild West. And so suddenly, who am I railing against? Who am I fighting? Who is the enemy here, you know? And it turned out I had to rethink the whole thing.
Being free from the pressure of ratings helped Stern get over himself.
And having 4 hours to do whatever I wanted and not have to worry about, the size of the audience. When I'm sitting there, I said, what would it be like to really hear what someone has to say? And it has led to some incredible conversation when I let go of it. So it takes that pressure away. I can do what I really want to do. And what I wanted to do is listen to people and ask them all of the questions that I had.
Do you suffer from depression? I mean, are you medicated?
I'm medicated. I used to think I needed to be incredibly unhappy to be funny.
When I was interviewing Conan, because I was able to listen and not be trying to insert myself, I picked up on something he said, and then all of a sudden he started talking about that he suffered from depression. And we got into this heavy thing. And it was like the cameras disappeared, the microphones disappeared, and the two of us were just locked in conversation.
Best interview you ever did.
Best interview I ever did. The reason I chose him as the best one in the book is that I felt satisfied. He is so smart and so funny that I think the format that he's locked into with late night television, he doesn't get to show the full range of who he is. And in this interview, I felt he really got to show that full range.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.